In today's video, we are on the south side of the River Thames in London, but we are going to be heading towards the east end of London.
What do you mean by that?
We're going to be taking a drive through the brand new Silvertown Tunnel.
Cushy.
Now, I am aware that there are very many videos already here on YouTube about the Silvertown Tunnel, so I'm going to do things a little bit differently. Yes, you've guessed it, I'm going to reverse through the tunnel. No, that was just a joke. I'm not going to be reversing through the tunnel. But with this channel being primarily about trucks, we have plenty of different angles that we need to look at the tunnel from. And I don't just mean from the higher position in the cab. With the tunnel being beneath the Thames, there's also a couple of things that we can look at above the Thames. And one of those things we'll be looking at has a very strong connection with another city. In fact, it's actually quite a depressing story. So there's a lot to get through.
Lovely jubbly.
Let's discuss it. One the trucker's eye. London, the capital city of England, and possibly one of the most hated places for truckers to drive their trucks. London was founded by the Romans in 43 AD. Roman legions established a settlement at the north side of the River Thames and called it Londinium. The Romans established the settlement on the Thames due to the many advantages of its position. Not only did the Thames provide a natural barrier making the settlement easier to defend, but the Thames was also a major east-west trade route, and the Romans recognised its potential for transporting goods from the continent. The actual point of where the settlement of Londinium was built was also on a narrow part of the River Thames, which was narrow enough for a bridge. The first London Bridge was built in around 50 AD, and it was possibly made of timber. The bridge was built where the current London Bridge stands to this very day. The Romans later built a more permanent bridge. I wouldn't mind betting if this bridge was standing today, all of this would have been converted into apartments. Could you imagine how much each apartment would cost? It probably doesn't bear thinking about. But it does go to show how important it has been for hundreds and hundreds of years for people to get across the River Thames. For the people in the City of London, or indeed to the west of the City of London, there has always been a multitude of places for people to get across the River Thames. However, to the east side of the City of London, the options for getting across the River Thames have always been very, very limited. The most easterly road crossing of the Thames is arguably the most important one. The Dartford crossing is essentially the link that links up the both ends of the M25 motorway. Although the M25 is London's orbital motorway, it actually doesn't complete a full circle. The bridge itself, even though it completes a continuous link of the M25, is designated as an A road. Its official number is the 8282. The reason that the bridge has not been allocated to motorway status is to allow non-motorway traffic to cross the River Thames. If you are not familiar with the Dartford crossing, or to give it its proper title, the Queen Elizabeth II Bridge, you may not know that there's a bridge one way that carries the southbound traffic and two tunnels that carry the northbound traffic under the Thames. Whilst this crossing provides absolutely no problems for any vehicles going southbound, going north is a different story. With the unique history behind the way these tunnels and the bridge have been built in succession, all to alleviate traffic problems, but never actually doing the job correctly, what we have today is basically a botched up job. On the northbound approach to the tunnels, you might notice that there are actually two different heights for the tunnels. Taking a look at the signage above the road, you'll notice that the left hand side has a height restriction of 15'9". The west tunnel was opened in 1963. The east bore or the right hand tunnel has a height limit of 16'6". 16'6" being the minimum clearance on the UK's highways. Any bridges on UK highways that are under 16'6" must be signed accordingly. But this setup has the potential to cause problems if you are travelling north with a vehicle higher than 15'9". If for any reason the east bore gets closed, if you're driving a higher vehicle than 15'9", the only real option that you had was to circumnavigate the M25, potentially adding over 100 miles to your journey. Depending on what goods you are carrying, you may not even be allowed through the Dartford Tunnel. When it comes to carriage of dangerous goods, Dartford tunnels are classed as Class C tunnels. Class C is a medium risk with some restrictions. You might well notice signs like this one leading up to the Dartford tunnel. As you can see, cyclists are also prohibited, and we're going to come back to that a little bit later. But prior to the construction of the Silvertown Tunnel, what was the alternative for all traffic if both tunnels were closed? What was the alternative for the traffic getting across the River Thames? So that position marked out is where the Dartford crossing is, and this circle is now marking out the position of the nearest road tunnel in case the Dartford crossing is closed. That was until the recent construction of the Silvertown Tunnel. This Thames crossing is called the Blackwall Tunnel, and exactly like the Dartford crossing, the Blackwall Tunnel also has two bores which were constructed at completely different times. The problem for HGVs using the Blackwall Tunnel is that there's a height restriction of 15'6" on the southbound carriageway. You'll also notice that the Blackwall Tunnel is Category E as far as dangerous goods are concerned. Category E being a tunnel with the highest risk, and very few dangerous goods are allowed to be transported through them. The southbound bore dates back to the 1960s, but the northbound bore dates back to the very late 1800s. And by that very notion, I'm sure you've already worked out that the northbound side is even worse for trucks. Having been constructed in the 19th century, the height limit on the tunnel these days is only 13 foot. This height limit was reduced sometime between 2008 and 2014 by 4 inches. There seem to be many occasions when trucks would leave Dover, head up the A2 and think they could keep going right through the centre of London and through the Blackwall Tunnel.
Turn left, you are too short for Blackwall Tunnel. Turn left. Take an alternative route. You can take Woolwich Ferry.
That driver there was being told to find an alternative route due to his height. But it wasn't just the height of the Blackwall Tunnel northbound that was the problem. Prior to the height restriction being lowered to 13 foot, I was able to drive through the Blackwall Tunnel. The northbound tunnel is very narrow due to its age, and it does also contain a lot of tight turns. But thankfully now we have a brand spanking new tunnel in the same area as the Blackwall Tunnel. But not everybody is happy about it. So there it was, the brand new Silvertown Tunnel. What's not to like? Well, for some people, there's quite a lot not to like. Just as one example, take this post on Facebook. It's on a page called the Transport Action Network. All across Europe they are building infrastructure for trams, cycles and buses. Here we're getting the Silvertown Tunnel, where HGVs will share the bus lane. It's almost as if the thought of HGVs using the bus lane has really got to them. But there's a second example I want to share from you also. This from the Stop the Silvertown Tunnel Facebook page. Anning said that the tunnel, which will have dedicated lane for HGVs and was originally supported by Greenwich, when residents see the container lorries and juggernauts going past their doors and going very close to their children's playgrounds at school, they will ask us, did you know this was going to happen? I wonder if these people actually realise that it's HGVs that deliver all of the goods to their shops. Maybe they'd change their opinions quite quickly, especially if HGVs didn't go past their front doors to deliver the food to their shops. But just parking the HGV issue to one side, their other problem seems to come in the fact that cyclists are not allowed through the tunnel. Going back to that Stop the Silvertown Tunnel Facebook page, you can see that they've got a massive 201 followers. while further down on the page bemoaning about a tunnel in Lyon that was built in 2013. This particular tunnel has a bus lane, a cycle lane in each direction, and also a footpath for pedestrians. What they neglect to tell you is this is not actually part of the original tunnel that was there. The two original tunnels were opened to traffic on the 19th of April 1952, whilst the tunnel for cyclists, buses and pedestrians was opened in 2013. Cyclists and pedestrians can still use a sustainable way of getting through the Silvertown Tunnel. Cyclists and pedestrians can take a free shuttle through the tunnel. Sadly though, many cyclists aren't happy with the idea of this and decided to take things into their own hands. I'm not so sure any of them were actually covering themselves in glory there, and I say this as a cyclist myself. You may have noticed that I did say that the crossing was a free crossing for cyclists and pedestrians on the shuttle service, and that's because for the privilege of using the Silvertown Tunnel and also now the Blackwall Tunnel, you'll have to pay. That just leaves one single solitary way to get your vehicle and yourself across the River Thames on the east side for free. And we're going to be going to the Woolwich Ferry very shortly. But in the meantime, if you're on foot, this to my mind is the best way to get across the river. This video was shot in 2022, and below you can see the construction site for the Silvertown Tunnel. The Woolwich Ferry provides a link to get drivers from the north side of the Thames to the south side of the Thames and vice versa. It provides a link between the North Circular Road and the South Circular Road. The North Circular Road along with the South Circular Road provide London with an inner ring road. The older ferries seen in the video have long been taken out of action, and they were replaced by these brand new ferries. One of the things that people always mention about the Silvertown Tunnel was the extra pollution it would cause. Maybe the Silvertown Tunnel wouldn't have needed to be built if those same kind of people hadn't have done this.
The previous plan to replace the ferry with a road bridge failed because of environmental protests, but neglect of the ferry in the run-up to its expected closure took its toll. Even when it's at full capacity, the Woolwich Ferry can't meet the demand. Its 3,000 passengers a day doesn't look good against the Blackwall Tunnel's 3,600 an hour.
And as we clearly know now, the Blackwall Tunnel was buckling under the pressure, so much so that they needed to build another tunnel. And that was why we got the Silvertown Tunnel. The Woolwich Ferry and the Silvertown Tunnel sit just 1 mile apart, and this is the airport at London City. It sits right between the two, and yet the ever-mounting number of vehicles on the road take all the flack for causing all of the pollution. But to end the video, we need to talk about a vehicle that sits on the Thames that will never ever cause any engine pollution ever again. If you were to take the Woolwich Ferry and whilst you're on it look down the river towards the Thames barrier, you'll see on the left hand side a very, very sad sight. That abandoned ferry on the left is arguably one of the most famous ferries on the River Thames, and yet most people don't even know what it is. The River Thames looks to have been the final destination for the Mersey ferry that was the Royal Iris. The Royal Iris was arguably the most famous of all the Mersey ferries.
The Royal Iris, owned by Wallasey Corporation, operated regular river cruises by day and night. She ruled the Mersey from 1951 for 40 years, being pensioned off in the early 90s and sold off.
Originally, the Royal Iris was taken to Cardiff, where it was proposed that it was going to be a night spot. Upon the rejection of the planning permission from Cardiff Council, the vessel was then sold off and taken to London to be a nightclub. The vessel has languished in this spot since 2002. The vessel takes on water and no longer floats. In the most recent incident, on the 9th of April 2025, it was reported that a fire had broken out, gutting most of the remaining interior. The Royal Iris was once known as the party boat, hosting bands such as the Beatles and Gerry and the Pacemakers. I do hope you've enjoyed this little bit of a different outlook on the new Silvertown Tunnel. The Silvertown Tunnel was badly needed. but there needs to be a lot more done on the east side of London. Further out to the east, they're going to be building the new Thames crossing, and driving through the Dartford crossing as much as I do, that can't come soon enough for me. Have you yourself had any experience with the new Silvertown Tunnel? Maybe you sit in the traffic every single day at the Blackwall Tunnel. Has it helped the traffic flow in the area? And what are your memories on the fantastic Royal Iris when it sailed on the River Mersey? I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you have subscribed to the channel already, then thank you so much for doing so. If you haven't, then please consider doing so. And I'll see you all next time. On the trucker's eye.